Let's get right into it. Number 10. The upside-down breathing machine. Your lungs are basically two floppy balloons that somehow got promoted to life support system. Seriously, evolution handed us these sacks of moist tissue and said, "Good luck, hope you enjoy constantly suffocating if anything goes slightly wrong." Here's the thing. Every time you inhale, your lungs don't actually suck in air like a vacuum. Your diaphragm, a muscle you rarely think about unless you've had hiccups, has to pull down to create negative pressure so air falls in. It's like trying to drink through a straw by lowering the table instead of using your mouth. It works, but it's stupidly inefficient. And because humans evolved to walk upright, our lungs are basically stacked the wrong way. Blood flow is strongest at the bottom, but air goes everywhere, meaning parts of your lungs are doing CrossFit while others are just on lunch break. In fact, when you're standing, your upper lungs are barely participating. They're freeloaders living off the oxygen-rich welfare system at the bottom of your ribcage. This imbalance means your body constantly has to redistribute blood and oxygen just to keep you alive. Every breath is like an uncoordinated group project. Your diaphragm's doing all the work, the upper lobes are slacking, and the blood vessels are quietly panicking. But the real kicker? You have no idea it's happening. You feel fine, because evolution didn't care about optimization, it cared about not dying immediately. So yeah, congrats. Your lungs are the evolutionary equivalent of a duct-taped air conditioner, ugly, inefficient, but just barely good enough to get by. Number 9. The panic factory. If your lungs could talk, they'd probably say, "Don't panic," right before forcing you to panic. Because one of their favorite design quirks is how they can't tell the difference between "you're drowning" and "you just ran up some stairs." That's right. Your lungs send the same distress signals for everything. Low oxygen? Panic. Too much carbon dioxide? Panic. Hyperventilating? You guessed it, more panic. It's like a fire alarm that goes off every time you cook toast. And here's the absurd part. When you panic and breathe faster, your body thinks you're in danger, which makes your heart race, which makes you breathe faster, until you've accidentally created a full-blown anxiety feedback loop powered entirely by air. This is why panic attacks feel like you're dying. Your lungs are essentially crying wolf, convincing your brain that oxygen is running out when, in reality, it's just your body being dramatic. It's as if your internal air management system was designed by a committee of chihuahuas. Even worse, your lungs can't stop you from hyperventilating. They just sit there, letting you blow off all your carbon dioxide until you pass out, at which point your automatic reflexes take over and fix everything, because your unconscious body is better at breathing than your conscious one. So yes, your lungs are both your life support and your anxiety amplifier. They're like a smoke detector that screams, "Fire," every time you light a candle, and then fixes itself only after you faint. Number 8. The fluid trap. Here's a fun engineering flaw. Your lungs are basically designed to fill with fluid. No, really. The same organs responsible for keeping you alive are constantly fighting gravity, blood flow, and condensation just to stay dry enough to function. Every breath brings in moisture, and your lungs are lined with a thin film of fluid to keep them from collapsing, which sounds fine until that system goes even slightly out of balance. Then you get pneumonia, pulmonary edema, or something ominously called wet lung. And since your lungs have no efficient drainage system, your body just hopes it all works out. Mucus builds up? Cough it out. Too much fluid? Good luck. Your body tries to drain it through the lymphatic system, but that's like trying to empty a swimming pool with a teaspoon. Oh, and fun fact, when you lie flat on your back, fluid actually pools in your lungs. That's why hospitals prop patients up at an angle, because the best medical advice we've got is tilt the humans so they don't drown in their own biology. If evolution had hired even one competent designer, we'd have built in filters or a self-cleaning mechanism like fish gills. Instead, you're walking around with two squishy sponges inside your chest, perpetually one head cold away from internal waterboarding. Basically, your lungs are the kind of apartment that floods if someone thinks about rain. Number 7. The pollution magnet. Your lungs are also really bad at their one job, keeping airborne garbage out. For a system that's supposed to filter toxins, it's weirdly porous. Each breath you take sucks in dust, pollen, bacteria, and the occasional insect leg. Don't think too hard about that. The lungs try to trap this stuff in mucus and send it back up your throat via tiny cilia, microscopic hair-like structures that wave constantly like an eternal conga line of regret. But here's the punchline. This system only works when you're healthy, hydrated, and not living on a planet made of smog. Smoke, pollution, and dehydration basically paralyze the cilia, turning your lungs into sticky crime scenes. Once that happens, your only defense is coughing, a violent, full-body explosion that's 99% theatrics and 1% success. And even when it does work, you still end up swallowing the gunk, sending it to your stomach for disposal. So yes, every day, you unknowingly eat part of your own lung filtration system. Modern life didn't make this easier. The human lung evolved in a world of clean air, trees, and occasional volcanic ash, not car exhaust and vape clouds. You're essentially using a prehistoric air filter in a cyberpunk city. Your lungs are doing their best, but honestly, they're like a flip phone trying to stream Netflix. Number 6. The Invisible Hitchhiker. Here's the nightmare nobody talks about. Your lungs are a 5-star hotel for microscopic squatters. You've got bacteria, fungi, and viruses just chilling in there at all times, and most of the time, you don't even notice. See, your respiratory system is like a crowded airport. Most travelers, microbes, are harmless passers-by. But occasionally, one gets drunk, misses its flight, and starts setting fires in the terminal. That's when you get bronchitis, pneumonia, or tuberculosis, the old-school diseases that just refuse to die. The real problem? Your lungs are too nice. They're warm, moist, and full of oxygen. Basically the Airbnb of the microscopic world. Once something moves in, your immune system has to storm the place like a SWAT team, which often causes more damage than the invader itself. Fever, inflammation, coughing fits, that's your body throwing grenades inside its own air supply just to evict a few freeloaders. And even when your immune system wins, it leaves scar tissue, tiny fibrotic patches that make your lungs less stretchy. Over time, those scars add up, and suddenly your once supple air sacs are about as flexible as a stale marshmallow. The irony? The very system keeping you alive is constantly one bad guest away from self-destruction. Your lungs are like a landlord who keeps renting to biohazards because they seemed nice. Number 5. The gravity problem. You know what's funny? Your lungs don't even work the same way depending on your posture. Standing, sitting, lying down, each position changes how air and blood move through them. So your breathing efficiency literally depends on how lazy you're being. When you're upright, the bottom of your lungs gets more blood flow because of gravity, while the top gets more air. It's a mismatch, like trying to make a sandwich when the bread and filling are in different rooms. When you lie down, everything evens out a little until it doesn't. Gravity still messes with pressure zones, meaning certain areas collapse slightly, creating dead space that doesn't exchange oxygen at all. You're basically carrying around little internal ghost towns of stale air. And if you sleep on one side too long, your lower lung gets squished, your blood flow changes, and suddenly your oxygen exchange is about as efficient as a politician's promises. That's why deep sleep breathing sometimes sounds like you're trying to inflate a wet balloon. Your lungs are struggling to figure out where gravity went. Evolution designed this whole system for creatures walking on all fours, not for bipedal mammals who sit hunched over laptops for 8 hours a day. So congratulations, every time you slouch, your ancient quadruped lungs are just quietly sighing, "We weren't built for this." Your lungs didn't evolve for posture, they evolved for survival. The fact that they even kind of work upright is a fluke, a happy accident that evolution never bothered to fix because, well, we survived anyway. Number 4. The oxygen paradox. Oxygen, the thing you literally can't live without, is also slowly killing you. Yeah, your lungs are your lifeline and your executioner. See, oxygen is great for generating energy, but it's also a chemically unstable maniac. Every time your cells use it, a few molecules go rogue and turn into free radicals, which sound like a punk band but are actually tiny assassins that damage DNA, proteins, and membranes. Your lungs are the first to meet oxygen on its way in, so they take the brunt of this chaos. They've got antioxidants to fight back, but it's like trying to stop a house fire with a spray bottle. Over time, the wear and tear adds up. That's one reason why aging literally makes your lungs less elastic. They stiffen, wrinkle, and lose their bounce like overused rubber bands. And if you ever breathe too much oxygen, like in a hospital setting or while diving, it becomes toxic. You can actually damage your lungs just by inhaling more of the stuff that's keeping you alive. It's the biological equivalent of drinking too much water and drowning from the inside. So yeah, the lungs' entire career is managing a substance that both sustains and sabotages you. It's like being married to someone who loves you to death, literally. Number 3. The Balloon of Betrayal. Your lungs don't like change. They're supposed to be elastic, expanding and contracting smoothly, but the moment something messes with that balance, they panic. Take smoking, for example. Your lungs respond to years of cigarette smoke by basically giving up on being balloons. The tiny air sacs, alveoli, that exchange oxygen start popping or merging into oversized blisters called bulli. The result? Emphysema, a condition where your lungs are technically full of air but can't get any oxygen out of it. It's like living inside a paper bag. Even if you've never touched a cigarette, pollution, allergens, and chronic inflammation can cause the same problem. Over time, your lungs lose their recoil, meaning exhaling becomes a full-time job. That's why people with COPD look like they're trying to blow up a stubborn balloon every time they breathe. And here's the cruel twist. Your lungs can't repair themselves efficiently. They don't regenerate the way your liver or skin does. Once you damage them, they're done. Permanent. Irreversible. Basically, evolution handed you a pair of limited edition, non-refundable breathing bags and said, try not to break them. Number 2. The backward plumbing system. Let's talk about the absolute clown show that is your airway design. Your lungs share the same entry point as your digestive system, one pipe for food and air. Because apparently, evolution thought Russian roulette was a fun breathing mechanic. That's right, every time you swallow, there's a tiny flap called the epiglottis that has to close perfectly to keep food from plunging into your windpipe. Miss the timing by even a fraction of a second, and congratulations, you're choking in public while strangers pat your back and say, breathe, like that's helpful. It's an absurd setup. Most animals have separate breathing and eating routes, but not humans. We get one shared hallway with a swinging door that malfunctions if you laugh mid-bite. It's why choking hazard is printed on every object smaller than a tennis ball. And it doesn't stop there. When you cough, sneeze, or hiccup, you're basically rebooting your respiratory system because your lungs are panicking. A cough is a high-pressure blast meant to eject anything stuck in the pipes, which works about half the time. The rest of the time, it just makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. To recap, your air supply runs through a messy plumbing system that doubles as your food chute, guarded by a single flap of tissue that occasionally takes the day off. It's like installing your kitchen sink and toilet on the same drain line and hoping for the best. So next time you choke on water, just remember, your body is the result of millions of years of trial and error, and the error part is still going strong. Number 1. The self-sabotaging organ. And finally, the most ironic design flaw of all. Your lungs, the very organs that keep you alive, are also the ones most eager to kill you when things go wrong. Asthma? That's your lungs narrowing their own airways like a toddler holding their breath out of spite. Allergies? Your lungs are throwing a microscopic tantrum over harmless dust. Pulmonary embolism? A random blood clot decides to play hide-and-seek inside your air supply. Every single one of these deadly malfunctions is the lungs' version of oops. Even the reflexes meant to protect you can backfire. Sneezing, coughing, inflammation, they all exist to defend your airways, but too much of any of them and you're in trouble. In fact, when you have an asthma attack, your body is technically attacking itself, trying so hard to protect your lungs that it ends up suffocating them instead. And don't even get started on lung cancer. Your lungs are constantly repairing damage from air, smoke, and toxins, until one cell mutates, goes rogue, and starts building an empire. Suddenly, your oxygen factory turns into a demolition crew. Basically, your lungs are the overprotective parent who loves you so hard it smothers you, literally. The real tragedy is that we've had millions of years to evolve a better breathing system, but evolution doesn't fix what mostly works. It's like patching a leaky boat with duct tape. Sure, it's holding, but you're still sitting in a puddle. So yeah, your lungs are a miracle of biology wrapped in a comedy of errors, beautiful, fragile, overdramatic balloons that keep you alive purely out of stubbornness. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.